know it's not the ideal time to do a presentation and seek your attention. We are almost reaching the end of the day. But anyway, hard task, but I'll try and finish it up quickly. I have the timer right here. It's not working still, but anyway. So I'm going to talk about cyber resilience in the age of ransomware, right? I know it's a pretty pertinent topic. Everybody typically today that I speak to, because I'm the enterprise sales director in India, and when I talk to customers, everybody has a point of view on this. And while we respect it, but Rubrik was formed to actually pioneer a point of view on this subject. And the intent for today is to kind of take you through what we think is a very strong point of view in this area. And we'll talk through this basically. Okay. Now, if you look at these two charts, right? I mean, the one on the left is from Gartner. It says that the worldwide spend, right, on security is like growing crazily, of course, for a lack of a better word, and is currently at over 200 billion US dollars, right? That's the kind of spend that all of the organizations coming together are making on the subject of cybersecurity, right? But if you look to the right, to the other report by Sonic Wall, it says that the number of ransomware attacks, right, is just drastically increasing pretty much at a faster pace than the investments on the left, right? And anybody sitting in this room would say that this is pretty ironical, right? If you're investing more money into something to become more secure, how is it that the attacks are growing, right? They should actually be coming down, right? So to look at why this is happening, because all of this money practically is being spent to focus on preventing the attacks. And that's how this industry has worked for the past 2 decades or more, where all the money that has been kind of allocated to cybersecurity, right? And I'm sure there are CISOs in the room, has gone towards preventing attacks. They wanted to make sure that we build higher walls and broader moats so that people can't come in. We'll have the right preventions at every layer so that we are not exposed. But can you really prevent the unpreventable, right? Most of the organizations, I mean, barring maybe small single-digit percentages, most of the organizations that have undergone a ransomware attack claim that they had updated their preventions, right? So they had updated the latest updates on their prevention software, but still they got attacked, right? And why did this happen? I think fundamentally it is a very asymmetric warfare situation. If you're on the prevention side, like most of us here are, right, you would need to be correct 100% of the time, fundamentally, right? But the attacker who's on the other side needs to get just one opportunity to actually get through and do what they want to do, right? So because it is so asymmetric, I think the more you invest in prevention, you can, as I said, bring stronger walls, build higher walls. But at the end of the day, something somewhere will go wrong due to which a ransomware attacker will get in. So basically, you don't have a choice but to be correct 100% of the time, which is not going to happen ever. With the advent of AI, it is not just that we are getting stronger in terms of building preventions, but the attackers are also getting stronger in being able to kind of construct zero-day attacks as well. So with that, the question that now the boards are asking, right, to all of their CISOs and their IT transformation heads is, are you ready for a cyber recovery? Right? We've all heard the term of RPO, RTOs in our backup recovery days, but are you really ready also for a cyber recovery? Or does your organization really have a cyber RTO? A lot of people that we talk to think about what is really a cyber RTO, how is it different from an RTO? And that is what I'm going to explain here. Now, your recovery time objective works like this, that whenever you undergo an operational outage, right? Operational outage, not a cyber outage, you just have one step to take. You go back to the last copy and recover from that. That is all you need to do to kind of get back to operations. And if you notice the bar on the bottom, right, the arrow on the bottom, that's going to tell you the amount of time you will take to do it. Typically, this will be your RTO, right? That is what RTO is called. You will know. You'll be very certain in terms of how long it will take for you to recover and be back operational. Imagine you had an attack now. Now, this is where RTO is not equal to cyber RTO. What is the first question that you will typically look to answer? What is the scope of the attack? If I have been attacked, what all has been infected? Which are the files that have been encrypted? Which is the first thing that a ransomware attacker does, goes ahead and encrypts the files when they gain access and kind of elevate the rights. So the first question you got to answer is determine scope of attack. You can't restore unless you know this. The second question is, what was the point of infection? When did you actually get infected? Which was the first server that was compromised? You still can't recover. You have to answer the second question. The next question is, all of us know about DPDP, right? what was in the files that were impacted, was there any sensitive data? And not just to your organization, you're answerable on that question to the regulators now, right? So you need to answer that question. And lastly, but extremely important, can you or do you have an ability to find the malware and quarantine it? Because if you can't find a clean copy in your backups, you're going to restore the malware back. And typically malwares have a huge dwell time, anywhere between, as less as 2 weeks to as big as 6 months. You're going to reintroduce the malware if you don't know which is the clean copy, and that's going to re-execute the code and encrypt the files again. So, and after you have answers to all of these 4 questions, supported by technology, supported by organizational processes and the right people at work, you can go ahead and then do a restoration. So now I spoke about the arrow at the bottom. Look how it is increased. Because you will take time, if you have the right tool solutions in place, let's say, you will still take time to answer all of these questions so that you can restore and become operational again. So this is how your time increases. And no wonder when organizations are attacked, they're actually down for weeks, if not months, right? And there are enough examples within India as well, where we've seen organizations kind of not being operational for as long as 4 weeks, right? Completely out of operation. Now think about what kind of impact can that create on your organization, right? So what Rubrik did when the company was founded by 4 IITians sitting in the US, they actually brought this principle of backup and recovery, which had existed obviously prior, and cybersecurity, which had existed prior in separate domains together. That is how we brought these 2 areas together and formed a company called Rubrik and introduced Rubrik Security Cloud to the market. Now, let me talk about briefly on how we do this, right? Because this looks pretty exciting to everybody, but how do we do it? Now, when you look at the legacy backup and recovery architecture, how it worked, it was a typical 3-tier architecture, right? Standard 3-tier architecture, where you had a backup software, right? Which was responsible for executing the software to take the backups, etc. That is where your metadata lived. You had a backup target where you would actually put the data, right? Call it storage. And they used to communicate on open storage. Now, typically, because your backup software and your storage were from different vendors, you needed an open storage protocol or open network protocol for them to communicate, right? That is where we found that there was a scope of improvement, because this was a full trust architecture. When these backup and legacy softwares were actually created, they actually use full trust as an architecture, which means that anybody behind your firewall who's inside your premise is a trusted person. But in case of ransomware attack, that is not true. So seeing that space, we thought this was ripe for disruption, and this is what we did. We actually created a solution, right? We brought the software as well as the hardware together, which means we created one hardware appliance that would have the backup software as well as the backup storage, which means the software and the data, access to both data and metadata, completely secured, right? With zero trust architecture in place, principally architected with zero trust in place, and immutability natively implemented at file level, which means once the data is written to the Rubrik solution, not even the Rubrik software can access the data or edit that data, right? Now, what do we get? This was our first version of the products. But later we realized that what we have done is something fantastic, and what we can do on top of it is this, that because we have access to both data and metadata, we have the intelligence of both, we can go ahead and build a native threat engine on top of it. Because we have access to both, we can do things like answer the questions that I was talking about, right? If you have both data and metadata with you, you don't need an external party, you don't need external software, you don't need external storage to rehydrate the data. But on the primary copy that is in Rubrik, answer questions like, what is the scope of the attack? Determine if any sensitive files were attacked, and find malware, for example, right? So this is how today your environment might look if you don't have Rubrik, right? You will have an initial compromise. That is when the malware gets in, right? It will do lateral movement, gain access, right? And then it will kind of launch an attack. Now, the red bar is where you actually determine, you find out that you have been attacked, right? Now, to answer these 4 questions, you're going to take all of that time. And the red bar says that your business is actually down because your production is encrypted, your backup is encrypted. You don't have an ability to come back also. So while you answer these questions, your operations are down and you're incurring financial losses. How does it change with Rubrik? We ensure that it is, even a cyber attack is just a blip on your radar. We ensure that you have answers to all the questions that we spoke about prior, and hence you just need give a delta time to Rubrik, which is as good as your RTO, right? Not your cyber RTO, which is 100x, but as good as your RTO to recover back and become operational again, which is basically saving yourself from reputational loss, ensuring that you don't have financial loss, right? So just a one chart view of what we do, right? Rubrik Security Cloud, this is the platform. We go ahead and protect all kinds of data, all kinds of workloads, right? Your workloads could be running on your data centers in an enterprise setup. They could be sitting on hyperscalers with cloud. You could be using SaaS applications like Microsoft 365. If they're developer organizations, they could be using Jira, right? Or you could be using Salesforce as your CRM. All of that gets protected through Rubrik as well. We have co-engineered solutions with all of these SaaS providers. And one of the myths that I want to debunk here is a lot of people think that if you're using a SaaS service, data is not your responsibility. This is the biggest myth that people live under, because data is always your responsibility, right? The vendor is either in an infra as a service setup, they'll give you the infra. In case of a software, they will give you access to the software, but it is your data that is going inside the software. So you always own the security of data. And we also have similar capabilities for unstructured data, right? If you have large NAS petabyte scale data sets, we can protect that as well for you, right? And we don't stop there, because we understand that this is a much wider paradigm and we need to leverage the ecosystem. We integrate with some of the leading prevention vendors, which is Palo Alto, Zscaler, CrowdStrike. Very recently, around 2 months back, we kind of announced our integration with Mandiant, which is the leading incident response company in the world when it comes to ransomware attacks. So what Rubrik Security Cloud now has access to is all the IOC hashes, Yara rules that Mandiant has access to, right? All of that are getting integrated into Rubrik Security Cloud, and that is the fundamental basis on which we are able to answer those questions, right? We are able to identify a malware before it actually detonates. Some of the benefits that have been delivered to our customers: 100% recoverability. We give you a guarantee that if your data is being backed up into Rubrik, come what may, in a cyber attack, in a ransomware attack, your data will never be tampered with. You will have 100% assurability. It is extremely simple and fast. We're just a 10-year-old company, built a very intuitive UI, and our platform is offered as a service. So all of those benefits are there. We also do data security posture management, by the way, which means that if you have production workloads running in the cloud, even before we back them up in Rubrik, we can actually do data classification and tell you where your sensitive data is sitting and allow you to take right actions to ensure you have a better cybersecurity posture or data security posture. And because we deliver all of these services through a single platform, a lot of times our customers come back and say they've realized savings in excess of 25% because of consolidation. One of my last charts probably, or there's maybe one more outside this. We have built this platform at Zero Trust architecture. We do have a ransomware response team that works out across the globe, 24/7, 365 for all our customers, because if they are a Rubrik customer and they ever suspect that they've undergone an attack, they can just dial into this team and the team helps them kind of recover their data. Rubrik Zero Labs is our own intelligence labs that actually works on feeds from different incident response companies and our partners like CrowdStrike, Mandiant, etc. And to top it all, we do have a ransomware warranty program as well, which means we initially started with a warranty of up to 5 million. Now we have doubled it up to 10 million, right? So if your data is being backed up into Rubrik and we are unable to recover your data in case of a ransomware attack, we are liable to pay up to $10 million in damages. Now, some of you might be representing really large enterprises here, and $10 million might not look like a big amount, and we completely respect that. But the reason we are offering this is to put our skin in the game and show you that we actually back what we are saying, which means that we are so confident this will never get broken. Just a view to some of the leading enterprises that we work with. If you look at the second column from the right, some of the leading cybersecurity prevention vendors across the globe that all of you trust, I'm sure, also are Rubrik customers, which means that they also know that if prevention is somewhere breached, they trust Rubrik as their last line of defense for their data.